Hello and welcome to Chapter 3, The Safe Food Handler. We're going to be talking about hand washing techniques. We're going to be talking about wound care during this chapter. We'll talk about procedures and use of wearing gloves. We'll also talk about proper attire. So what are some situations that can lead to contaminating food? Well, food handlers can contaminate food several different ways. One, if they have a foodborne illness themselves. If they have wounds or boils that contain pathogens or are infected. If they sneeze or cough onto any type of food they're serving or surfaces. If they have contact with people that are ill. If they use the restroom and don't wash their hands, that is definitely a way for fecal-oral routes of contamination to take place. If they have symptoms of diarrhea, vomiting, or jaundice, which is the yellowing of skin and eyes. So what are some actions that could occur that would contaminate food or potentially put it in jeopardy of being contaminated? Scratching your scalp or running your fingers through your hair. Don't do it. Nobody wants to find your hair in their meal. Wiping your nose or touching your nose. Maybe you just had an itch. It wasn't dripping or anything, but you've still contaminated your hands. Rubbing your ear, earwax, contamination. Touching pimples or infected wounds. Also wearing dirty clothes and uniforms. We once had a food lab in the classroom, and I walked by somebody once, and I noticed that their sweatshirt was covered in cat hair. And, their cat claimed their sweatshirts to be its bed. But you can't wear that in a food operation or around food when you're cooking and things like that. Coughing or sneezing into your hand, a definite no-no. Or even spitting in an operation. I don't care if it's in the trash can. I don't care if it's in a cup. Just talking sometimes, spit comes out, which is definitely a way to possibly contaminate food. So you might be surprised to learn that washing your hands, as simple as it sounds, definitely can be done incorrectly. So let's talk about washing your hands. Make sure in every operation there should be a designated location for the hand washing sink. Okay, and it should be monitored. It should be kept clean. We'll talk about what should be found there, and it should not be used for anything else, okay? So hands must never be washed in sinks designated for food prep, for dishwashing, or discarding wastewater. What does a well-stocked hand sink look like? Well, check out the picture. A stocked sink should have hot and cold running water. It should have soap, preferably liquid, not a bar of soap that everybody has to share. Single-use paper towels or a hand dryer, not a dish towel. And then a garbage container to throw away your used towel when you're done. If these items are not stocked, you should be telling the manager at your facility or your store or restaurant operation. Okay, so let's look at some rules. Rule of thumb. When should you wash your hands? Well, before and after using the restroom, definite. Handling raw meat, poultry, and seafood, and that's a definite before and after. Touching your face or body. Say you wash your hands in a kitchen, you go to do a task and you have an itch and you touch your face. You have to go rewash. Anytime you're sneezing or coughing or even using a tissue, you have to rewash. When you go to take a drink or eat, or you shouldn't be chewing gum or using tobacco in an operation facility anyway, but they even say when you go for a smoke, say on a break, you should definitely wash your hands when you come back. Handling any kind of chemicals that may affect food safety, that is definitely a wash your hands. If you're not sure, wash your hands again. Okay, so we're going to look at how do you wash your hands. Washing your hands should take at least 20 seconds. In the video that we watched earlier in the course, it talked about humming the happy birthday song. But there are particular ways to wash your hands in order for it to be done correctly and accurately. ServSafe will ask this question on your exam, so pay attention. First, you wet your hands and your arms, okay, with running warm water. Then you apply the soap, and enough to build up a good lather where it's really soapy and bubbly. Then you should scrub your hands and arms vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds. Clean your fingertips, under your nails, between your fingers. You shouldn't be wearing any jewelry, so you shouldn't have anything obstructing that, or where any dirt or, debris or anything can get caught into. Be careful on that question, because on the ServSafe test that I took when I was first becoming an instructor, the question was a little tricky. It asked how long you should scrub your hands and arms, and one of the options was 20 seconds. So I put 20 seconds because I wasn't paying attention enough. And one of the other options were 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 30 seconds. So I picked 20. It actually the answer was 10, because it was 10 to 15 seconds in the book that they're telling you. So 20 was not the right answer. So be careful on that. Read the wording carefully. Next, you're going to rinse your hands and your arms thoroughly using running water. Do not shut the water off yet. You should be drying your hands and your arms and then using, a single-use paper towel to do that. Then, with that paper towel, go and shut the water off. You will recontaminate your hands if you're touching the faucet before you dry your hands and use a paper towel. You'll recontaminate. Just in case you didn't know it, you should also wash your hands after handling an animal or aquatic, life. Anytime you're changing a task. So if you're doing salads or prepping salads, or you're prepping vegetables to be cooked, and then you should wash your hands before you go to take the dishes out of the sink to put, or out of the cupboard to put them on the table. You should, if you're cutting raw meat, you should definitely wash your hands before you're touching any food, but also definitely after. I had a student one year that purposely tried to give us all salmonella poisoning, and he touched all the cabinet doors with raw chicken juice on his hands. It was intentional. He was gotten some serious trouble for it because he was the almost cause of a serious foodborne illness. So you need to be really careful. Okay, leaving and returning from the kitchen area. If you have to leave the room, or you're going to the lab or the restroom, you should definitely be taking off your apron. You should be washing your hands when you come back, even though you just did it in the bathroom. Wash your hands when you come back after you put your apron on, and make sure that your hands are clean and ready to go. Even using electronic devices, computers, cell phones, they are covered in germs. Okay, let's talk hand antiseptics, sanitizer. Liquid sanitizers will lower the number of pathogens on your skin. However, your first and best defense is washing your hands under running soapy water. The soap that you wash your hands with doesn't kill the germs. It's running them under the water. The soap is making them slippery, running it under the water and washing them away. That's the problem with hand sanitizer. It's better than nothing if you don't have running water available to you, but it should never replace hand washing. You should also allow them to dry before touching any type of food or equipment. Let's talk hand care. Make sure that your fingernails are kept clean, kept short. Do not wear polish because it hides the dirt under your nails. It can also chip and be a physical contaminant. You should not wear false nails either if you're working in a food source or food operation, because of that reason as well. If you do have fingernail polish or fake nails on, you are to always wear single-use gloves. Okay, so what do you do if you have a wound on your hand? You should always cover that wound. They call them cots. So cover your wound either on your hand, your finger. It's like a Band-Aid, or they call them finger cots. And then you always wear a glove on top of it to keep that Band-Aid from becoming a physical contaminant. Cover your wounds on your arms with bandages and sleeves. And you should always make sure that you have tight-fitting bandages, that they're durable, they're clean, and then that they're covered up. Okay, let's talk about gloves. Single-use gloves should always be worn when you're handling ready-to-eat food. Cookies, sandwiches, anything that's not going to be cooked further and it's being given to other people, definitely have gloves on. How to use the gloves? You wash your hands before you put the gloves on, okay? And then you never blow into the glove to make it open to stick your hand in. You don't touch the fingers on the outside because that'll contaminate it. And you never roll the glove, okay? You should just place them on, holding the wrist part and making sure you're not touching anything. You should be changing gloves as soon as they become dirty or torn, or after handling raw meat, seafood, poultry. I'm a big fan. If you're not sure, if you think they may be dirty, change them out. They're cheap enough. Bare hand contact. If your dish is cooked for at least 145 degrees, then you could have bare hand contact. So like you could be touching raw meat before it goes into the oven to be cooked. Raw vegetables before it's being cooked, as long as it's going to reach 145 or above. Never handle ready-to-eat food with bare hands, primarily when you're serving high-risk populations. And then work attire. So all food handlers, even when you're here working in the classroom, in the kitchen, everybody must wear their hair up in a restraint. They must have a hat on or a hairnet. You must wear clean clothes daily. You must remove your apron when leaving a food prep area. And jewelry must be removed. Remove jewelry from your hands and arms before prepping food and when working around prep areas. There is a question on the test where it says, it gives you 4 options, and it says, what type of jewelry are you able to wear? Some of them were a wedding band, a bracelet, an alert bracelet or necklace, which, tells you if you have some kind of medical condition. And there was one other one. Well, guess which one was not the right answer? If you thought medical alert was allowed, it is not. The only type of jewelry you are allowed to wear in a food establishment is a plain wedding band. No diamonds, no stones, just a plain wedding band. So keep that in mind if you happen to get that question on your test. Okay? All right, so this wraps up Unit 3. Please make sure that you have your notes all complete from chapters 1 to 3. You will be turning them in through this assignment. There will be a way that you can turn them in. I know the rest of the pages will be empty, but I want to just give you partial credit and make sure that people are keeping up. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. There is also a ticket out the door you have to complete, and make sure you fill out those exit tickets, and I will see you next week.